welcome to another episode of Let's Make It. And tonight I'm kind of flying solo. Bob is feeling a little bit under the weather, so keep him in your thoughts and everything. So he won't be with us tonight, and I just want him to rest and start feeling better. So we haven't had a show in 2 weeks because I've been on vacation. I went down to South Carolina and spent 10 days basically down in South Carolina and enjoyed myself, and finally came back, and I'm starting to get back into the groove again. In fact, I got ambitious this past weekend and tore the studio pretty much apart and redid how all the monitors are and everything in front of me and changed out the lighting. So still coming back from all those changes. So while I was gone, I was trying to think of some new show episodes and stuff. And a while back, I mentioned about a project I was going to do for our dog. When she wants to go out, she comes and she stares at you, but she doesn't tell you what she wants. And you got to ask her 3 or 4 times, and then she finally will maybe bark or run to the door when she wants to go out. So we decided a while back that I should make a button for her. So I'm going to go through that tonight. That's tonight's project. I did that using an off-the-shelf Arduino board from Adafruit, and we'll talk about that too because there's 2 versions of it. One of them has an amplifier, and one of them doesn't. And I got the one without first, and then I thought, well, I should have the one with, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. One thing I do want to kind of cover, and this past week, it was announced by Justin TV that they were shutting down, and they didn't give any kind of notice. They basically said, we're shut down. Anybody that was on that service that had content pretty much lost it. We're not one of those. We don't keep our content there, but we did stream through it. And Justin TV is still on our website, but it will be removed here in the next couple of days because they no longer are going to support streaming. Not sure if you had heard or how much you follow it, but Twitch TV, which is also part of Justin started Twitch for gaming, was bought by Google and YouTube. So I'm sure that had something to do with that. It's a little frustrating, probably some people that didn't have notice. Fortunately, we weren't one that's really affected by it, other than we streamed to them, so it's not really a big deal. But I know we had some viewers that would watch us on Justin TV, and that no longer is going to be the case. So we're rearranging all of our streaming. In fact, tonight I'm only on Daily Motion, but next week hopefully we're up on a couple other ones as well. Like we get some old ones live stream and a few other ones we used to use, and we're going to spin them back up again. And so we're going to readjust all that stuff over the next week or so. So it's just something to, if you're looking for Justin TV, or you go to our Justin TV link on the website, it's just not there. It won't work anymore. They're just gone. So that's just to make sure that we covered that. So I had a question in the chat room before the show started about our hexacopter update. And I think you all remember, probably last time I talked about it, I had crashed it. Actually damaged the house more than I did it. But since I've been back from vacation, I haven't had time to go back outside. It's been kind of ugly outside anyways in storming, so I haven't really had a chance to go out and fly it around. But I do have the other ones sitting on the table ready to start assembling them. One of the things I decided to do with the hexacopter is I was having some problems with the speed controllers, and reading about them, they got to be adjusted. I guess the speed controllers are used for in airplanes and everything now as well. Instead of gasoline engines, a lot of people use them to control electric motors on airplanes. So there's this adjustment you have to do, which gives you the bottom and the top end of motion. But with the hexacopter controllers, it doesn't always work right. There's a tuning thing you got to do. So I was doing that last time when it crashed. I don't think I've ever got them correct. But what I decided to do was it's a company that makes some that don't need tuned. So they're on their way here. I thought they may have been here by the time I got back from vacation, but they haven't arrived yet. So when I get those, I will replace those in the hexacopter and see if it flies, or not flies, but even idles a little bit better. One of the odd things about it was when you would give it power, you may have 2 blades that are spinning at idle, and the other ones weren't spin until you go to take off. And then they'd also take off and go. And after it was flying, it was fine. But if you tried to give a little bit, like if you could take a really hard, like into the wind and trying to go one angle, some of the other ones may shut off, which then made it really unstable, which these other ones supposedly don't do that. So those are on the way. Let's see. I think that's pretty much all of the news that I had this week. Like I said, Bob's not going to be with us today. Hopefully he's resting up and getting him starting to feel better. I know he had a rough week last week, not feeling so well. So, all right. So like I mentioned before, we had a project we wanted to do. My wife and I talked about this, and we wanted to do this thing for our dog because she is weird how she comes and she stares at you. And she doesn't. This dog doesn't bark. It takes a lot to get her to bark, and we have to coach her to do that. Otherwise, she just doesn't. She doesn't bark at all. She's actually the only time she barks really is when she's sleeping and dreaming. But if you coach her enough, and she has to go outside, or we call it go potty for her, and you keep asking her, she eventually will give you a little bark. So what we want to do is give her a way that she could tell us that that's what she wanted. Because sometimes she just wants water, sometimes she wants food, sometimes she has to go out. So it's kind of hard sometimes to understand what she wants. So we decided to do a button. So I'm going to show it to you. I don't have it on camera because I tore it all apart. So I'm going to hold it up. But basically what I have here is I have a gaming button like you would see like on a video game in any kind of video game place, an arcade or whatever. And I got these. I can't remember where I got these, but I got a bunch of them, and also got some smaller ones too that you find on video games. But it's a big button. It lights up. There's an LED inside of it. It lights up. And then from Adafruit, I got this shield, which is attached to right now just a Arduino Uno, and then there's a shield. And let's see if I get the name of the shield. It's just called the Music Maker Shield, and it comes in two flavors. It comes with one with an amplifier built onto it, and one with not. So you can get audio out through this little plug, like into earphone, to a stereo, or something like that. But I want to put this in a box by itself. So I got the one first, not realizing that there was two versions of it. Then I ordered another one with amplifiers on it. So this has an amplifier on it. It's a low power amplifier, but it's enough to power this little speaker here. It's a little 8 ohm speaker, and it works well for that. So one of the things, if you saw it when I was holding it up, but every so often it blinks. It's about every 10 seconds or so. It'll give you a real quick blink. I don't know if you can see on the camera or not. Let's see. Come on. There it goes. So it just blinked. That's just so we know it's working, and it's also I want to try to teach our dog that that's what she needs to touch when it goes off. But what I did is I went out to 5rr.com, which is a place where you can get things done for $5, and I paid somebody $5 to do a voiceover as my dog saying she has to go potty, and she gave me like probably 8 or 9 different versions of that, and actually was kind of funny because she was trying to think. She made comments while she was recording, like trying to think what her pets would say. But what I did, I took those WAV files she sent me, and I broke it into individual files, and those files are stored on the SD card that's on this right here. And I'll try to get some pictures of this and stick it up on the notes, because I don't have a camera overhead to zoom in and show this week. So basically what I did is I wrote a sketch, which I'll walk through here in a little bit, that when the button is pushed every 10 seconds, or maybe 11 seconds, something like that, it'll keep rotating around all those different saying I have to go potty. And then if we want to turn it off, we just hold it down for 5 seconds, and then when we do that, it stops and goes back to normal. So I'm going to press it here, and you're going to hear what it says. Let me get it close to the microphone. So I'm going to press the button.
I have to go potty.
I think you heard that. And it'll keep talking now without me doing anything with the button. I'll bring it up here. It feels like forever when you're like this. Oh, maybe I did. Maybe I pushed it. Yeah, I did.
I have to go potty.
You see it's blinking faster. That's telling us that she triggered it, basically.
I have to go potty.
And I'll let it go a couple more times here, and then.
I have to go potty. I have to go potty.
There we go. So now I'll hold it down. And when I hold it down, see it starts blinking. So that I cleared it, basically. It's reset. waiting for her to press it down again. If she presses it again, it's going to go
I have to go potty.
right away. So I'll go ahead and stop that. Just like that. So pretty simple little project. We haven't tried training her yet on that because I have it in a box. So I'm going to put it in a box and put her by the sliding glass door in the back, and hopefully she can learn it. She is about 7 or 8 years old now. We rescued her. We thought that she's about 2. So I don't know, old dog, new tricks type thing. We'll find out. But what I do want to do is I do want to walk through the code because it's actually very interesting. This is the first time I've ever done anything with an Arduino that actually played something, and it's actually playing MP3s. So it's not something like a text-to-speech, but we'll walk through here real quick. Let me go back over to the computer. This script actually came from the Adafruit site. So I downloaded it when it's from the. If you go look at the board itself, you can find the library, and also in the libraries from samples. So I basically took the Adafruit samples and I cut it up pretty good. But basically what it is it uses the SPI interface for the SD card. So we have to include SPI.h and SD.h. Now it's a micro SD card, but it's still SD.h. And then here's the Adafruit library, the VS1053.h, which is what's needed to actually use the chip. And the shield that comes from Adafruit has some pins predefined on it. So 7 and 6 are used to communicate with the VS1053 chip, which is the playback chip. And then for the card select for the SD, you have pin number 4. And if you want to use an interrupt, you can use this pin number 3, which I actually ended up using pin number 3 for something different on down in here. So I'm not using interrupt, so it doesn't really matter in my particular case. And then we'll get down in here where my part of it is. So the files on the SD card are numbered basically they go from starting at 0, 1, and they go as high as, in my case, 6. So I have a routine we're going to get down here, and when I get to 6, I want to go back to 1 again. So what I'm saying is the max messages that I have on the disk or on the card is 6. And then I have 2 modes. It's either waiting for Bella to press the button, or it's been pressed and it's in the gotta go mode. So then I come down and I define the file player, and I can call that music player. And you see right here I define all the different pins that I defined above. And then I set my defaults. The current message is going to be played is equal to 1, and then the current mode is equal to 1, saying it's going to be in the waiting mode, and the first message is going to be number 1. And then I have some loop counts here, and it's just how I determine the 2 different blinking rates. So, and also how long we held the button down to reset it. So I had it set up so that we had the button down for so long to reset it. So if she hit it twice real fast, it wouldn't just clear itself. So I had to, this is what the button count does. And the message loop count is basically how much time it waits in between each message that it plays. So we come down to the setup, real basic stuff here in the very beginning. We do our serial setup, and I just print out that it's Bella's potty button. And then I open the music player, and if for some reason I can't find it, then I basically say I can't find the chip, and I sit in a while loop forever, not doing anything. And then print out the audio chip found. This all came out of the Adafruit default program. Start the SD card right here, and I set my volume. And what's interesting here is it's kind of backwards what you would think. So when the default, whenever you get the sketch, is 20 and 20. So it's left and right channels. It's a stereo output. Although I'm only using one side of it. But it defaults to 20 and 20. And it was quiet. And I ended up trying to increase the number, which didn't help. I actually went the opposite direction. So it actually is, the lower the number you go, the higher the volume. So I got it as high as I can get it, which is 1 and 1. And then I do set an interrupt pin, although I'm not using the interrupt pin for anything. I set pin 2 to be an output pin right here. And right now what it does is as soon as it starts up, it does play track 001. I'm probably going to remove that because there's no reason to actually do that. And then in the loop, we're pretty much sitting and waiting for something to happen. So in mode number 1, which is when we're waiting for Bella to press the button, I'm just checking the button. And if it's pressed, then I play I do a play message, which I'll walk through in a little bit. Basically plays the next message in the loop. I set our button count equal to 0, our message loop count equal to 0, and I change the mode to 2. And I do that so you'll see the button count later on. Why? Basically, this is what's going to wait to see how long we've held the button down. And message loop count is what's used to determine how often the message plays again. So right beneath that, and this will happen through every loop, basically, is I'm increasing blink count. And every time I reach to 100, I'm basically going to turn the light on and turn the light off, and with a delay of half or a quarter of a second in between there. And I reset blink count back to 0. So basically that causes the slow blink, just so we know it's still functioning. And if Bella presses the button, which makes it current mode equals 2, what we're doing here is we're checking the button, and if the button's down, we're increasing that button count. And if we hold that button count, or hold that button down for more than 6 cycles, excuse me, then we're assuming that we want to reset it. So what we do is we put the mode back to 1, and we sit here and we wait while the button's being held down. And the reason we do that is if we're holding the button down and it resets itself and we're still holding it down, it's going to go back and start playing messages again and go back into the other mode. So by us waiting here until the button's released, we know the button's been released. So if it's pressed again, it's pressed on purpose. So that's what this little while loop right here is for. But let's just say the button isn't pressed, and we come down here and we do message loop count. And when we've gone through this loop 60 times, which basically is every 6 seconds, I guess in this case, because we're delaying down here 1/10 of a second, then we play the message again, and we set our loop count back to 0, and we start counting over again. And we also have a blink counter here, and our blink counter for this particular mode is much faster. Up here, we're blinking once every, what would it be, 10 seconds. And down here, we're blinking once every, what would it be, 2 seconds. So basically what we're doing is we're looking for a blink count here, and we're increasing about 15 versus the 1 that's up top here. Get greater than 100, we do the same thing. We turn it on, we wait for a quarter of a second, and turn it back off again. And then the loop ends with a delay of 100 milliseconds. So we're looping through here every 100 milliseconds. So 10 times a second, we're checking that button, the button status. And then the only other thing that's in here really is a simple routine that actually does the playing. So this is what play messages does right here. And I set up a file name, track001.mp3, and then I just changed the number to be the current message number plus 48, which makes it like, if it's 1, it's going to be 48 plus 1, which is actually another number 1. So that's how we set up our file name. And then we just, to play the file, it's real simple. It's just musicplayer.play full file. And there's, put the file name in there. And then we increase the current message. And if that current message is greater than 6, it means we don't have a 7. So we go back to number 1 again. Next time we call this routine, it's going to go back and it is going to play that one more time. So that's all the play message does. So it's really a simple program. And it's only, 118 lines. So really, really basic. With all the long stuff at the top is already set up from the sample Adafruit program that I pulled down. So let's see, let's clean this up a little bit. I haven't commented this very well yet. I'm going to re-comment this before I put it out in the show notes. But playing an MP3 file with this library and this card is super simple. And there's a bunch of other options for the music player. Actually, let me go up here and look at the other examples that come with this. So, well, this is the player simple. This is what I took this from. And you can see it's really well documented, but there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. So if you're not using it all, you just cut it out, which is pretty much what I did. But you can see in this very simple example, they're just going to play 2 tracks. And you can also play multiple things at one time, it looks like. I haven't tried this yet, but you see here, start playing file, and it does that while it's already playing this file. So you can play multiple things. And it does require interrupts, but that's why I said before I wasn't doing this, so I didn't require the interrupt to be able to do that. And down here, they have serial controls like start and stop, stuff like that, right down in here. Let's see, what other examples does this library come with? Here's a GPIO test. Let's see what this does. It's, oh, I see. It's just doing some GPIO for beginning and ending and things like that. Oh. Well, also you can do some control over the actual player itself using GPIO. And it can read, oh, I guess the library has GPIO built into it, is what it looks like. I haven't really researched that very much because all I always want to do is play. But the board comes with extra row of holes, so you can do your own connections to the pin numbers as well. All right, so that is the Adafruit. What did I say it was called again? Music Maker MP3 Shield. And because I have 2 copies of it now, I have one without and one with an amplifier. The amplifier is not really powerful, but it runs these little speakers, just fine. So, and I could actually run 2 speakers with it. So my next step is to build a box. Now I kind of recorded me putting this up together, and I'll go through that in another segment and putting it in the box and everything. Because I put little clips. You can't really tell probably from the distance without the camera ahead, but these are like slide-ons. And the actual button itself, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these, is actually very interesting because this is just a hollow piece of plastic with some little push pins on it. So it doesn't do anything by itself. And then that button is just a typical edge button with an LED in the middle. So you've seen all these buttons sometimes with like little arms on them that trigger when something hits it. So it's like sometimes they call them edge buttons. Sometimes they call them when CNCs. I can't remember what they're called. But anyways, there's the button. Just real tiny little thing. You just push it like this.
I have to go potty.
And you see there's the message. And now you can you can try to see the LED now. It's blinking faster. So I stop it. So, but yeah, it's a very interesting button. They make these in all kinds of sizes too. I was just on vacation when I was down in on the way to South Carolina. We stopped at Dave & Buster's with our nephews, and I saw these things everywhere in there. And there's one game that probably had at least 100 of these on it, and they're blue. And the idea was like whack-a-mole, but it was vertical instead of horizontal, and you had to hit it with your hands. So I was amazed how many things are around. And then I have littler ones too for other video games, for like start buttons and things like that. So very interesting, very fun to play with. So I think that's pretty much it. It's gonna be a short show this week. Didn't really have a lot more than this planned, and with Bob being out. So I won't hold everybody up. I'll make it as short so you can get back and go play with your toys and your electronics and everything. Let me see if I got anything here in the chat room. Oh, okay. So yeah, Chris, Justin TV is gone. So you're never gonna get Justin TV to work again. They took it down. Let's see. Oh, so Chris can't watch it on Daily Motion. Okay, well next week we'll have some of the ones set back up that we took down because we had too many of them. Ustream wasn't up tonight either. I don't know what's going on with Ustream. I couldn't get it to come up. Let's see. Oh, Chris is having problems viewing. Yeah, since I can't get the Daily Motion, I don't know why that would be the case. But I'm not sure what's going on with Ustream. Well, I don't recommend Ustream anyways because it's to make commercials on it. But we will have some of the older ones that we're using before back in there, maybe Vaughn or something like that will get set back up. Plus, we're also looking at YouTube Live, which is a bad example to use when you're watching live because the delay is really long. It can be more than a minute delay, so you can't chat back and forth I mean, already we have delay. Can you imagine adding another minute on top of that? So, but we may do that anyways. We are actually setting up a Wowza server, a dedicated server outside of here, and we'll just stream to it, and we can stream everywhere that way. The reason we took down the other ones like Vaughn was we didn't have enough bandwidth to do them all, and Dailymotion was a better quality video than any of the other ones, so we put that as a priority. But with Justin gone, we need to start doing more of this. So, all right. I don't have anything else other than tell your friends, spread the word a little bit. You can get us on Roku. You can download our shows anywhere as a podcast directory. And in fact, if you find one where we're not, please let us know. We'll make sure that we get ourselves there. We can get some on Stitcher, although I'm not quite sure how well we translate to audio only. And something, this is the other thing I meant to mention in the very beginning. WLMN Radio, out of Crofton, West Virginia, is starting to carry our shows, and they also have a TV version of it now. I think it's only on at night, and we'll start showing up on there as well. So we'd like to welcome WLMN Radio in Crofton to the TechZen TV family, or, well, they'll welcome us, whatever. So that's something that's new for us, and we're really looking forward to working with them. They're great people out there. So they stream worldwide on their audio station, and we'll be on audio and on their video side as well. So also, never mind. I already said that. It's one of those kind of nights where my mind's just not quite thinking straight with all the weird stuff going on. All right, everybody. Well, we'll let everybody get back, and I'll go keep working on some of the little weird things that are happening around here. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday night. For show notes for this show, contacts, and more, go to the TechZen.tv website, where you can get show notes for all of our shows. We love to hear from our viewers and listeners. We have an email, a Twitter, and a phone number where you can contact us for each show. For details, visit the TechZen.tv website and get the show details. You can also make a video and upload it somewhere like YouTube or Vimeo, and then just send us a link. You never know, you may see your video in a future show. You can get all of our shows delivered automatically to your favorite device by going to your favorite podcast website like iTunes and subscribing. Each of our shows also has a YouTube channel you can subscribe to get regular updates. Our shows are also available on most internet radio networks like Stitcher and TuneIn Radio. You can also watch and listen to our shows on Xbox, TiVo, and Roku. You can even find us on your Zune.